Hey, what's up y'all? My name's Chris Abbott, but all my friends just call me Abbo. And in this video, we're gonna be talking about some tips and strategies for how to be a good pastoral leader coming up. All right, what's up y'all? Welcome back. If you are new to the channel, this channel exists to help pastors and church leaders to be able to use technology and social media and leadership principles in order to grow their church and also grow themselves, right? So we all know that healthy things grow, and that doesn't include just our churches, but it includes us as leaders as well. So let's dive into 5 of my very favorite leadership principles that you can use in order to be a good pastoral leader. All right, so I'm gonna assume already that you are praying regularly, that you're in the Word, right, and that you're spending time with the Lord. Obviously, that is going to be the single most important thing for being a good pastoral leader, right? You have to have regular prayer times. You have to have regular times in the Word where you're growing spiritually, right, and getting fed. But in this video, I wanted to break down 5 of the principles that have been the most helpful for me in my life in hopes that they can help you in your journey as well. Number 1, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Now, if there's anything in your life that you're unhappy with right now, right, your life, your marriage, your family, your church, right? The problem isn't you, the problem is your systems. Now, James Clear has an incredible book on this called Atomic Habits, and if you haven't read it yet, I highly recommend picking up a copy. But it's the idea that everything in your life comes down to systems, right? We all set goals, we all have targets that we want to hit, but the truth is we don't actually rise to the level of our goals, right? We're always going to fall to the level of our systems. So you have to have a system in place for growth. You have to have a system in place for your marriage, right? So, for example, one of the systems we created in our marriage was we have a weekly date night. Right? This isn't revolutionary, right? Lots of people have it, but we found that whenever we get outside of that system, right, things can go off the rails. We need at least a weekly date night to be able to reconnect without the kids, just me and Rachel, and we're out there either going to a movie or having dinner or going bowling or doing something fun. That's just a simple system that helps keep our marriage on the tracks, right? So you need this for your leadership as well and for your church. So if you're not happy with your life, the problem isn't you, the problem is your systems. Number 2, learn the language of social media. Now, this one comes with a caveat, okay? So Tom Rainer says that not learning how to use social media is like a missionary moving to a country and refusing to learn the language, right? So we all have to learn the language of social media. But the important caveat here is not to be a consumer of social media. We're not just using social media to find out what everyone's opinion is out there, right? Because Lord knows everyone has this appetite for uninvited opinion and they can't wait to share theirs, right? So it's not about using social media just to consume content, but what we actually want to do is make sure that you're spending time studying how to use social media in order to be a more effective leader, in order to have a more effective church, right? So take times to subscribe to channels like this one, where you can learn strategies and tips on how to grow your church, how to grow yourself as a leader, how to attract more families, and make sure that you're following Instagram accounts and Facebook pages that do the exact same thing, right? One of the things I like to do is I like to pick some of my favorite pastors. I like to follow them on Instagram. I like to check out what they're putting out on IGTV, right? I like to go to their YouTube channel and watch some of their services. And if they have like a leadership podcast, check out what they're doing there. This is really, really important. Use social media, but use it the right way. Don't just go on social media and be a consumer like everybody else, but use social media as a tool to develop yourself and to get better. So before I get to my last 3 points, right, since we're talking about social media, make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that little bell. That way you get notifications every single time we drop a new video. All right, number 3, steal like an artist. Now, Pablo Picasso is famous for having said that good artists copy, great artists steal. Right? Now, what does he mean by that? I think this is an important detail to address in the church world. This doesn't mean that we go copy what other people are doing, right? And this is a problem in the church. Not only is that actually unethical, it's also illegal, right? Like intellectual property is a real thing. We can't just go out there and steal what other churches are doing and just, grab their sermon series artwork or steal one of their logos and use it for ourselves. But when we talk about stealing like an artist, right? What an artist does is they look at another artist's piece, they look at what they're doing, and they let that influence them, right? And so they go create their own version of that painting or that work of art. We need to do the same thing. So take a look at what churches are doing, right? Maybe they have an incredible Plan Your Visit program, right? We don't want to just go copy what they're saying word for word off their Plan Your Visit page, right? But we can use that to influence what we're doing. Maybe they're using a great marriage series in order to be able to reach people, right? So maybe theirs was, I want a new marriage, right? We're not just going to go steal their sermon title and all of their artwork and everything, right? But maybe we come up with something that's, okay, how can we use this idea of a new marriage and giving people a new marriage? We'll say, oh, well, maybe we could create a series called Relationship Rehab, and we talk about rehabbing and giving people a new lease or a brand new relationship after going through relationship rehab, right? So we're stealing like an artist, not stealing like a thief. There is also a great book on this, literally called Steal Like an Artist. And so if you guys haven't picked that up, it's a great book, really, really easy read, but I love this. It covers this entire idea of how to steal like an artist. So if you're looking for a few more tips on this, I definitely highly recommend picking up that book. Number 4, the only limitations are the ones in your head. Now, I love this because I think this is one of the things that it's easy to get caught up in, myself as well, right, as pastors and church leaders. So what happens is a lot of times we'll start to get bogged down in the fact that we don't have any volunteers, or we have a shoestring budget, or our church is too small, or our location isn't perfect, or we have a portable church, right? But all of those excuses, none of those are actually true, right? Those are limitations that you've placed on your leadership and on your church that only exist in your head. So Pastor Craig Rochelle says that limited resources are a breeding ground for innovation. Right? And I think this is right. Every single time I've had some type of limited resources, it's always led to innovation. So for example, when I was in full-time youth ministry, I remember that one of the biggest problems we were having was that as kids got older, especially by the time they got their license, right, juniors and seniors, they would leave the youth group. From the time they were young, they'd come out, and we were attracting a ton of middle school kids and a ton of freshmen and sophomores, but we didn't have that many juniors and seniors. They were kind of aging out, right, for lack of a better term. And what I realized was, because we were trending so young and we had so many middle schoolers coming, right, so many freshmen and sophomores, a lot of the juniors and seniors just kind of felt like things weren't totally for them, right? And in the position that I was at, and some of a smaller church, didn't have a lot of leaders, right? We were missing a lot of people in kind of the 20s and 30s. We had a much older age demographic in that church. And so we're trying to figure out, I need more leaders and I need a way to engage juniors and seniors, right? How can I do this? So what we did is I actually came up with an internship, right? So the name of the church was 708, and we came up with the 708 internship. And so I went to all of my juniors and seniors and I asked them to apply to become an intern. Right? And I told them exactly what we were going to be doing for interns. We were going to be having intern retreats and intern trips. Basically, they were going to become my youth leaders. And that's exactly what we did. So the kids actually took it really seriously. They filled out applications, right? They got pumped when they got accepted. We had hazing every single time we had like a new person who joined the internship, right? And they became the one that set everything up and mopped all the floors and did all that stuff, right? And then they got to haze the new people whenever they became part of the internship. But what was funny is all of our juniors and seniors started coming back to the church in droves, and they became more engaged than everybody else, right? We actually put them in a leadership position. We gave them some authority, and I told them, hey, I need your guys' help. We've got so many 6th, 7th, and 8th graders come in here. Man, they really look up to you guys as leaders. I need your help reaching these kids. And so before, where I couldn't get any of the older juniors and seniors to engage, and I definitely couldn't get them to mentor the kids, now they're pulling aside 6th, 7th, and 8th graders and talking to them about the Bible and helping them out playing basketball and becoming friends with them. And it completely changed the entire dynamic of our youth group, all because we took a limited resource and we turned it into innovation. All right, and finally, number 5, growing churches don't find great leaders, they build them. Carey Nieuwhof says that the reason the people in your church aren't like the people in the churches you admire is because you haven't led them there yet. That's kind of convicting, but I think that's the reality, right? So just like the example in my last point, what was happening was, man, those juniors and seniors, they weren't engaged and they weren't becoming the young men and women of God that I knew they could be because I hadn't led them there yet. Right? So part of it was me as a leader. I had to grow. I had to expand my capacity and figure things out, right? Because it's only at the edge of our ability that we begin to expand our capacity, right? So as I grew in my leadership and I started thinking, how do we engage, these 16, 17, and 18-year-olds, and how do we get them plugged in and bought into the vision, and how do I get some daggone volunteers in here, right? We were running 150, 160 kids every single week, and we had 4 volunteers. And no matter how many times I asked people in the church, everyone just kept telling me no, or more than likely, probably what you guys have seen, they would just duck me for 3 or 4 weeks, right? So how exactly can we do those things? And for me, that was the problem, is I just hadn't led them there yet. My leadership had to expand in order for me to be able to lead them. So that's the case always in any organization, but especially in our churches, right? So if you're looking at other churches and say, man, if only I had those leaders and I had those staff people and I had that worship leader and that kids pastor and that youth pastor, right? Stop. Don't look at them and think that way. Most of those leaders are homegrown. Right? So what we have to do is we have to raise up leaders. So think about who in your church you could start pouring into, you could start mentoring, and you could lead and mold into a leader. So one of the cool things we've seen in my church, because my church has been around for about 29 years now, is the vast majority of people that we have on staff and in leadership positions in our church now are all people that I actually had back in middle school and high school when I was in youth ministry, right? Like these kids have grown up in the church, and because they were developed and discipled, they're now helping run the church, and they're overseeing some of the most important ministries in our church and helping us stay relevant and reach young families. That doesn't happen by accident. We didn't go out and just find these amazing people, right? They joined our church, and came up through the kids ministry, through our JV youth ministry, through our high school ministry, through our college ministry, and now they're fully surrendered disciples of Jesus, and they're plugging in and helping us reach the next generation. All right, so if you like this video and you want to learn more about how to use social media and technology in order to grow your church, I've actually got a free gift for you. Head on over to churchgrowthagency.com or click on the link in the description below. We've got a free video that's going to walk you through my framework for how to use social media to attract new visitors every single Sunday.